Stop.
If you're trying to crack CTET English Pedagogy by just cramming definitions, well, you need to stop right now. Seriously.
You know, this topic is worth a solid 12 to 15 marks. And honestly, this is the exact spot where most students get completely trapped.
Welcome to One Attempt. In this power-packed session, we are going to break down every single key concept of CTET English Pedagogy, all based on the NCERT framework, so you can absolutely ace this exam. Ready? Let's get started.
All right, first things first, let's tackle the #1 trap that students fall into year after year, and that's not understanding the huge difference between language acquisition and language learning.
So, what's the big difference? It's actually way simpler than it sounds. Think about it this way. Language acquisition is totally natural. It's subconscious. It's how a little kid picks up their mother tongue just by being around their family. No textbooks, no grammar lessons. Now, language learning, that's the formal stuff. It's conscious. It happens in a classroom, and it's all about rules. This is how we typically learn a second language, like English.
So please burn this into your memory for the exam. Children acquire their first language. They don't learn it from a book. Acquisition is the natural built-in process. Learning comes later, and it's a structured effort.
Now, once you get that difference, it naturally leads us to the big theories that are the bedrock of English pedagogy. If you can crack these codes, you can crack this entire section of the exam.
First up, we've got the famous Noam Chomsky. His big idea was that we are all born with an innate or inborn ability for language. He said we have something called a language acquisition device, or LAD, in our brains, which is kind of preloaded with a universal grammar. This explains how kids can say things they've never ever heard before.
Then you have these two other major players, Piaget and Vygotsky, who had kind of different takes on this. For Piaget, it was simple. Thought comes first, and language just follows to express those thoughts. He called the way kids talk to themselves egocentric speech. But Vygotsky disagreed. He said that language and thought grow together, and social interaction is the key. He saw a child's self-talk, which he called private speech, as a super important tool for thinking and solving problems.
Okay, so enough with the theory, right? Let's get practical. How do we actually use this in the classroom with the 4 core skills, what we call LSRW?
So LSRW stands for listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and we can split them into 2 really simple groups. Listening and reading are receptive skills. Think of it as input. You're passively taking information in. Speaking and writing are productive skills. That's your output. You're actively creating language. Simple, right?
Look, clearing the CTET isn't actually that difficult. It's just that understanding the right pedagogy feels difficult. But after today, that feeling is gone.
All right, let's get into the real nitty-gritty, teaching methods. This is a huge area for exam questions, so pay close attention to the traps and, more importantly, the triumphs. First up, we have the old-school classic, the grammar translation method. This is probably what you imagine when you think of a really traditional language class. It's all about memorizing grammar rules and translating texts word for word from your native language. And boom, here is a massive CTET trap alert. Any exam option that focuses only on grammar rules and translation is almost always the wrong answer. Why? Because this method completely ignores speaking and listening and just promotes useless rote memorization.
So if that's the wrong way, what's the right way? Well, it's called Communicative Language Teaching, or CLT. This is the modern accepted approach, and the goal is one thing: communicative competence. It's all about making sure a student can actually communicate ideas effectively. Getting the message across is more important than perfect grammar.
And here's what I like to call the CTET golden key. If you see an option that's all about communication, student interaction, and creating meaning, and it describes the teacher as a facilitator, that is very, very likely your correct answer. This whole approach completely changes the role of the teacher. You're not a dictator standing at the front of the class anymore, you're a facilitator of learning. So let's see what that actually looks like.
So what does a child-centered classroom actually look like? Well, it's buzzing with activity. You've got students working in pairs and groups, you have storytelling and role-playing, and critically, especially in a diverse country like India, you see multilingualism as a resource, not a problem. This is a key point in the National Curriculum Framework of 2005.
But what happens when a student is struggling? We don't punish them. We support them through something called remedial teaching. It's a simple 3-step cycle. First, you diagnose the exact problem.
Then you give helpful feedback. And finally, you reteach the concept, but this time using a different method that might click better for them.
Okay, I've put together a quick cheat sheet for you. Think of these as your green lights and red lights for the exam. On the left, the positive words like interaction and experiential learning are your friends. Spot them and you're on the right track. On the right, the negative words like rote learning or teacher-dominated. If you see those, you can probably eliminate that option right away.
All right, deep breath. Let's do a super quick revision round to lock all this in. Number 1, acquisition is natural, learning is formal. Number 2, the skill order is LSRW. Number 3, the teacher is a facilitator. And number 4, the communicative approach is the best method. Got it?
If you really got value out of this session and you're serious about cracking CTET, do 3 things for me right now. Like this session, share it with your study partner, and subscribe for more classes. And don't forget, you can get all the PDF notes and slides for free on our Telegram channel.
Always remember, 1 attempt, 1 focus, 1 selection. We'll see you in the next class.